And here's that weird delay from Evie Mux before putting us on the screen. I think I'm going to stop using their intro. Oh, and it's removed Jack from the screen too. At least one of us was on there. Good morning, Mr. Gescheidt.
Good morning. Am I going to be an anonymous voice from the ethers, or am I visible somewhere?
No, you're visible.
Oh, weird. I can't see me. It says offline.
That's
Interesting.
pretty weird.
Yeah.
And you are frozen. Ray Cooper says, good morning and looking forward to the show.
So are we. Good morning, Ray Cooper.
I'm looking forward to Jack being back. And there he is. Now he's moving.
It's so strange. And for me, I've got a screen that says offline. Isn't this fascinating, folks? This is the magic, the work that Skyler does as a producer to get this stuff running, because God knows I wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, I can see you, so let's assume the audience can see you, and we'll stop talking about our technical failures.
Very good.
I'm going to warm us up with some humor, but do you want to tell what the core of the show is before I do the warm up, or shall we just warm up?
Well, about managing the wild nature, which is, let's face it, folks, it's dangerous out there. If you don't manage the forests, they're going to ignite in wildfires because we didn't thin them the way Native Americans did and kill us all. And of course, fires will burn catastrophically and destroy themselves as well. And then we need to manage, if people can see this picture here of the cow in the unmanaged field with weeds growing wildly, they too will catch fire, I guess, is the big danger out there, right, Sky? We're out at Point Reyes, where the area we're always talking about. But it's emblematic of we need to manage forests, we need to manage pastures, we need to manage the land, we need to steward the land. Without mankind, nature would be lost, and not only lost, but a threat to us all.
Correct. Unless you want to address climate change, and then those same people will say, "Oh, hands off! God is all powerful. God will take care of it."
Well, not only that, but we don't discuss climate change anymore because our dear leader says it doesn't exist with his.
Careful what you say. Don't want to be taken off the air.
Well, that's a whole other show right there, isn't it? Exactly. And the latest news, by the way, with Kimmel, not to wander as I always do. By the way, folks, without Skyler here, this would be like the Jack meandering ADT show. I'm sorry. Were you going to agree with that very quickly, Skyler?
I was going to say I'm going to agree that I'm just going to start muting you periodically.
Well, I already can't see me, so slowly we're losing Jack. It'll be the Sky Show.
Lynn Klein says hi, and Pia Ogilvy.
Ogilvy, or there's one more I in there, but it sounds like Ogilvy. Hello, Pia, and hello, Lynn. Welcome. Good morning.
Be as interactive as you want. The reason we do these lives is to try and answer questions that people might have about the topics that we have, because Lord knows that the journalists aren't going to provide you with at least not the full picture, and usually a very, very lopsided, inaccurate picture. And we're talking about just locally. We're not talking about the things that Trump is controlling yet. Well, although the people who are having these stories written in their favor are indeed supporters of him. So maybe it's not as disconnected as I just alluded to.
And good morning, Corinne.
You know what? Since I went there, let's put on something that I saw from a Dutch show.
Okay, you're going to play something right now?
Yeah, it's coming up right now.
Okay. Oh, I know what this is.
Have you seen this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I circulated it as soon as I saw it a couple days ago. It's brilliant. Yeah, go for it. This is great.
Okay, holy crap.
So brilliant. So brilliant. So brilliant.
Yeah, I'm so sad that snowman part is inspired by an actual senator, an actual adult, an actual person who reproduced and has children at home. You remember the guy who came in and threw the snowball?
He brought a snowball to Congress and said, there's no such thing as global warming. Look, there's still snow. Right. God, I think it was a senator.
Yeah. Yeah,
I forget which guy, but anyway, yeah,
like in Georgia or something.
yeah.
Oh God. And there is a solution to these things, and we, as David Cross points out,
I would like to.
yeah, some of these are recorded at different volumes, but that was maxed. But there is a solution: chanting and casting spells. So
I like the new admonition for me these days, if you get it, is clots and prayers.
clots.
Yes, for certain people, we wish clots and prayers.
Oh well, keep consuming the wonderful products coming out of Point Reyes, and you'll have some clots.
More burgers, more buckets of chicken, more buckets of wings, etc. Yeah. So,
Corinne, good morning, Corinne. With that, I have nowhere to go except for the core of today's show. Are you? Do you want? Are you going to provide your own narration? It doesn't come with audio, so
oh right, you're still teaching about this stuff, Skyler, about copyright stuff. About this is a video that I found on Facebook, produced by a photographer who has a certain point of view that we might differ from. So
Snow to inbound. LeBron.
that's not it. that's what pays the bills.
let me look again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know the copyright issues, but I wanted to play this video, and there was even some really salient comments made in support of it. But I think it just us generally talking about it will suffice. Yeah, I mean,
wait a minute. That piece of crap that, by the way, you made me go to Facebook for, which I don't appreciate either. That was professionally produced.
Well, it was posted on a Facebook page of apparently a photographer, a professional photographer. I don't know the woman, but someone who is, let's say, sympathetic to the cause of the ranchers' perspective at Point Reyes National Seashore as they're being paid millions to leave. And it was focusing on one family. I don't want to give away the farm here, as it were, but it shows a certain music and it shows a certain story and an angle, and created a little mini documentary film, like 3 minutes long or something. And it was just something you and I would have fun commenting on, not to mention lambasting. So I don't know how you want to do it, because I know there are limitations about what you can show, and I still don't quite understand that. You know the stuff better than me, because in fact, you put up something of mine that I wanted to show, and then you get dinged for it, like, hey, copyright infringement, and I don't understand the limitations of it, like it's length of the clips or something.
No one understands anymore. They keep changing the rules.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'll say yours was really interesting, because you actually had someone go re-record the audio, and the algorithm still picked up the original artist, and that was enough for a copyright.
Right. No, I do spoof songs, folks, where I take an original popular song by whomever, and I hire another singer to, come to a close approximation of it. And then I don't even take the instrumental from the original video. I pay $20 to get a karaoke version of it, which is similar but not the same. So it's not. It's the writing, I guess, of the music is what I'm stealing or parodying it, but not for profit. And then I get someone else to do instruments, and I get someone else to do the voice, and even that get dinged as a copyright infringement. Which just last thing, there was someone. If I could talk to someone at YouTube, which you can't, you could say, "Hey guys, this is what I did," and they say, "Oh, okay, that's fine. We're not going to get dinged because you're not actually stealing from, Britney Spears or something." But you're not able to talk to anybody about it, so you just get dinged, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and try to get this again.
Okay. Well, I also want to put out, while you're doing that, Skyler, I can talk to the audience. And I was talking with Skyler before the show here. I have an interest in just discussing, and with a few examples, I guess, of AI, and more particularly generative AIs, large language models, LLMs, they call them, like ChatGPT is a big popular one. Not so much about imagery, although, that's a whole other topic right there. But it interests me to discuss and get audience feedback, as we do here. We've got a small enough show that we can actually read good comments people throw in and have a conversation. But and the reason this comes up for me in my life is I have people suggesting I use ChatGPT to do writing for you, Jack. It'll be faster. And there's big problems I have with that, both instinctively and then as I read commentary, really ripping into the harm it does, even you individually, by falling back on ChatGPT to do your writing for you, which is to say, do your thinking for you. So if that's a show interest topic.
Yeah, I had a friend who was a writer, and he was really trying to get me into the AI things. Like, oh, you don't even have to write; you let it do it for you. I'm like, I don't think I want to go that direction. I'm a little surprised that you do.
I mean, for me, as a very specific example. I mean, here we are just touching for 5 minutes. We could do a whole show on this. Obviously, it's a deep topic, but okay, I want to write the local paper about this push by agencies to cut down trees to reduce fire danger. Well, I think that's all nonsense, but it is the kind of a dominant perspective right now because it's being repeated. And if I go to ChatGPT and have it write an opposition to that, all it does is very quickly glean data off the web, some of which I've probably written at this point because I've written enough of it for a couple of years, and then the people I draw from. But it doesn't have a specific point of view. It's just working on probabilities. So it can't do what a good human writer can do, who's really attentive and does his or her research. So why would I go to ChatGPT to get this for me? It can't do what we humans do. Not yet.
Well, I'm afraid to give credit, but the human beings aren't doing themselves any favor in terms of staying ahead of the game. Like, drivers have gotten so bad that I'm not even upset about seeing Waymos. I'm almost comforted to see a Waymo instead of a human behind the wheel at this point. That's not good.
Yeah, and that's another. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know that AI and more computers doing more things, including in the form of robots, it's coming. I mean, it's just coming, and that's because it's driven, in my opinion, by capitalism, not by actual need for it. And it's certainly going to, really disrupt the economy, put too many people out of work too quickly. Not that I'm against all technology. Hell, I'm using a ton of it. We're using it right now.
It's interesting how much talk you hear about the importance of jobs, and presidential campaigns are based on creating jobs and lowering the unemployment, and yet there's simultaneously this embrace of AI, and there are actual posters, at least around San Francisco, that in huge bold lettering say "Stop hiring humans," and it's advertisement for AI, and it's just, no matter how you feel one way or another about it, what a contradiction it seems like to me.
Oh, don't let me get started here. Don't you get me started. I mean, again, it intersects always with capitalism, the big force in our lives here, whether you want to mention the C word or not. But corporations want to, minimize expenditures and maximize profits, and AI is certainly going to help with that in many realms. I mean, obviously. So a politician can say whatever they're going to say out of one side of his or her mouth, but of course, the corporation is going to adopt this technology, and then the real thing. I mean, Elon Musk is a great example of this now, who is a great salesman. I mean, a con man salesman. He's gotten way out of hand, much more than he ever did, saying about how important it is. Everybody's going to have 3 robots and it's going to do all your stuff for you. Doesn't mention how when you lose your job because some AI is taking your job, you can't even buy a robot. I mean, it's just complete drivel nonsense at this point. Real idiocy. Not to cast no aspersions or nothing.
Thank you for buying time, because I am having to screen record.
Yeah.
You don't. Not all platforms can be accessed as easily.
Pia says, writes, I just read in a Danish newspaper that Trump claims that climate change is fake. Yeah, but that's not new. I mean, gosh, in the entire Republican Party now has to line up behind dear leader, Mr. President, and either not mention it at all if it's awkward at best. And if they do mention it, then it's like, well, we're not sure. I mean, climate change has to be off the agenda for discussion these days because, I mean, that's the game changer where we have to back off of fossil fuels and question meat/beef /cow and dairy production, which are major drivers of deforestation and the climate crisis. Instead, we cut into forests to thin them because of the climate change, which I call global heating or global warming or a climate emergency or a climate crisis. Even the word climate change is a euphemism itself. Oh, the climate is changing. It's changing, not up, not down, not hotter, not colder, not good, not bad. It's just changing. That is a euphemism, folks. Don't use it.
So you're supposed to be comforted that it's just changing.
Right. It's also a passive word. It's not we've changed it. Climate changed or anthropogenic climate.
Oh, right.
It's just changing all by its own. It's passive. So I mean, these words are not they're chosen very carefully and pushed as a narrative by both, the powers that be, fossil fuel industry, and of course politicians enslaved to them financially. Just saying. Yeah, Ray Cooper. I don't like AI creating content, but we use AI every day. And then, of course, GPS or a calculator are both examples. Well, the thing is, those things came on slower, Ray, right? I mean, there was an argument when calculators came out from Texas Instruments. It was the first company that made this stuff available to consumers in the 70s, late 70s. We were getting them in high school like, oh, cool. But we had already learned our times tables, at least up to 12 by 12 equals 144. And, the argument was we don't really need to know that. And again, the technology came on more slowly compared to how the onslaught of its rapidity today, how quickly it comes on and how much bigger the changes are. And it's one thing to say, I'm going to give up learning how to do algebra, which you could argue is a good mental exercise to make you smarter, just for any activity, not just algebra. It's another to say I'm going to give up writing, because writing really is deeply embedded and intertwined with our process of thinking. And I would argue that thinking is kind of a handy thing to be able to do. And not to mention the other issue is attention span, your length of your attention span. That's what books offer, folks, I'm reminded. And I don't read nearly the amount of books that I used to. Many people don't. I've got a cousin who's a professor, and she's reading and writing a huge ton of books, doesn't watch the amount of movies and visual entertainment I do. But, I would say she's smarter. She always was, but reading a book forces you to focus your attention for a longer period of time. And there are tremendous benefits to that for certain kind of content generation, as the AI folks would call it. Am I still buying time here? I can do this all day, buddy. We can just go till 10:30 or so, and I can just run it.
Let me see what happens if I try to share screen.
Okay.
No, actually, I want a recording of it.
Yeah, it's going to run smoother. No problem. Ray says, anytime you use AI, you give up the ability to perform the task. Well, exactly. You reduce your doing that task, which means you get less proficient at it. But there's value in both the process and the result of the doing. I mean, I remember in school learning all this gobbledygook nonsense. I mean, not that I went to a decent public school in Westchester County, like the Marin County of New York State, and we'd be studying, I don't know, it doesn't matter what the subject was, some dumbass thing, and they would say, Jack, it doesn't really matter what it is, you're learning how to learn. You're learning that you can learn, we give you some exercise where you're supposed to memorize all 50 states and all 50 state capitals. I mean, arguably that's kind of good to know if you live in the country, but whatever. And I fought it and this is annoying. And it was kind of a tough Martinet social studies teacher that put us through this exercise in 7th or 8th grade. But it did teach me, wow, I can memorize a ton of stuff that I didn't think I could. That was a useful exercise for the couple of days we were spent memorizing all that stuff, rubbing our faces the way Skyler is right now.
I just...
Yeah.
I have to watch the Nunes video because I'm been reduced to screen recording, so I can't come back over and look at you guys, and therefore this horror is on the screen, and it's just blows my mind how ugly this is, and that other people can, like I saw in the comments, think that there's something beautiful here.
Yeah,
like this is horrifying. And this is the best you could come up with as a tribute to the damage.
This is a video showing a specific ranching quote unquote family. I guess it is a family. I don't need the quotes. Leaving Point Reyes seashore, and it's kind of a tribute and how sad it is. Right? That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of JD Vance clones walking around.
So I appreciate your working on that, Skyler, folks. He's trying to pull something off of Facebook to show you and share with you, which is, I think it's worth the effort. A few more minutes. Ray says, what is the incentive for a young person to learn how to read a map or learn the multiplication tables? Yeah, well,
Good.
increasingly, you don't need these tools. There is no incentive.
Well, they can't read a map, so maybe there isn't one. I mean, it's already been 20 years since they were having the people go around and ask kids to point out where the United States was on a map, and they'd like point at the ocean.
And I mean, for discussion, folks, because the pushback is, look, everybody has a smartphone or the GPS built into your car or both. Like, if you want to get somewhere, you don't need to learn how to read a map. What does it matter, Grandpa? Should we be learning how to plow a field with an oxen, assuming you're not a vegan? We don't need these things anymore.
Right. So imagine, let's apply this to an argument saying, hey, things are safer because your car can assist you with realizing that you might run into something, or it makes a beeping sound when it's put in reverse to warn people around you. And or they're self-driving, they're basically taking driving out of driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like the fact that what you're really doing is saying, hey, humans, you don't need to really be here. Don't participate in the present.
Well, okay, boomer. I mean, if you can have a car it's funny. I think of my brother, who's 2 years older than me, smart guy, and he's an auto mechanic, and he introduced me to the Waymo driverless taxis, the robocabs, as we call them in San Francisco. And it's amazing technology. I've ridden them, I don't know, a dozen or more times, and they really do a good job. And statistically, they will be safer than humans, who can be distracted or fall asleep or start texting or be just anyway. It's just, they're an amazing technology. It's a whole discussion about whether that's a net good or a net bad to remove humans from the equation. It encourages what goes on in San Francisco and the Bay Area a lot with the tech industry based here. Like, I want to get in the cab and not have to say hello to somebody and smell their breath and deal with that. I just want to be isolated with my date or my friend and go out to dinner or be alone. And increasingly, it isolates humans from each other, which I would argue is not a net good.
Well, funny thing is that, like, even as I was saying that, when you skip past everything else and you remove the human entirely, it came closer to being good. But when you still have a human halfway operating the vehicle, but kind of like trying to multitask other things, because the actual tasks of being aware of your surroundings and being aware of potential danger or being aware of people around you, or knowing what you're doing, are being removed from you by a machine that's doing that thinking for you, but you're still sort of the driver. That's a dangerous combination. And there's other problems with it. Like, I get to listen to this person who does not know how to drive or parallel park at night give us the audio announcement that I'll just say she, so not to get in trouble, but is failing to park, because we all have to hear the reverse beep that automatically engages every time this person starts over and tries to parallel park.
Meaning noise pollution as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky, and also because of our age, not to mention our status as white men in society. It's like, okay, grandpas, a couple old guys talking about how technology is terrible and taking away the world. And I like to think I'm young enough and flexible enough in my thinking to know that, well, I could be just stuck in my ways. There is some of that, but I also like to think I'm sharp enough still and open-minded enough to say, it really is good for kids to go out and play in nature still, to use their bodies and not just sit at a computer or a smartphone all day, every day. That's not what humans are built to do. It's not healthy for your body, obviously, or mind or spirit. So it's a mix of things, as always.
Something else that comes with getting older is being able to look back at how you were, and that you criticized the people that sounded old because you were young and you thought you knew everything, and then being old enough to be like, shit, they were right all along. So
Yeah.
Like the people that have been around a while don't necessarily think what they think just because they're old. They've seen some things and they've had some experience.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, that's a great example. It's a mix. It's a mix. Sometimes the old folk go, yeah, nonsense. I mean, not that I went to a.
Sorry, keep going.
Sorry. Oh, sometimes, yeah, we're just old and stuck in our ways. You're right, kids. You're right. Grandpa has got it wrong, and this is the way the world's going. Get with the grandpa. And to Skyler's point, on the other hand, there's some things that you do know with experience, and you're right about them. And the kids are wrong because they didn't grow up with it, and they really don't know what they're missing. Just to mention, a friend sent me a video of his dog sleeping in New York State, in upstate New York. And I wrote back and said, "Oh, this is great, very sweet dog." But what made me so excited was hearing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this din of crickets in the summer in New York State. We don't have that here in California. I mean, we didn't have as much of it because not as much rain, but especially now with more heat, more drought, fewer insects increasingly, we don't have insects out there. I mean, shit, this changes. But if you grew up with that, like, oh, what are crickets? Like, why do I need crickets? So what?
It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
I mean, in addition to the other challenges, have you seen? I don't know if I do know what it's like. I actually documented it when I came to visit you. The onslaught of never-ending urban management and pesticides. And if you go into a Home Depot or one of these places, you got an entire wall. You've got a football field of poison to choose from.
Yeah.
So not only are the contractors coming to these neighborhoods and applying different types of poisons, then the homeowners themselves are like, yeah, that's a lot of poison, but it's not quite enough. Let me add a little of my own.
It really is incredible. Yeah, I was at a Home Depot, whatever, 10 years ago for the first time, kind of looking at that, passing that aisle. I'm like, oh my God, it is just, you said, it's a wall of various Roundup, Dow Garlon, and Monsanto Roundup formulations. It's just like, oh my God, you can just buy this crap off the shelf, this toxic poison, and put it in your backyard, presumably. But of course, that gets into the water. It gets into the groundwater. It doesn't go away. It goes somewhere.
Thank you, NC. NC's doing what I'm supposed to have been doing. And I'll ask one question. Does Corinne have a good point that she has a friend whose Rivian, an electric vehicle, crashed when it was on autopilot? And the reason I say, is that a good point, is that, well, are we going to accept every time that humans mess up? Are we going to start having it be a comparison ratio of when the machine messes up compared to what, it's not like there's a guarantee that the human wouldn't have also crashed.
So to your point, that NC is right. Yes, let's get to it.
Okay.
Let's go back to our topic.
Here we go.
We're ready. Thank you, Skyler, for doing this, folks. Thanks for waiting. Now we're going to get to the meat of the show here.
We're going to stop it whenever we want to, right?
Yeah, and there's also, we're going to talk over because you've taken the sound off so you don't get a copyright violation, but there's sweet romantic music. Let's put it that way.
Is that all it was? Was it music? Or is there actual?
Yeah, it was music. Yeah, you weren't hearing people talk. It was just music, but it's, the sad, romantic ranchers. So go ahead.
So I don't see...
But you want to play it? How about this? Let's just try it unless you feel otherwise strongly. Play it once through. It's not long, and we can go back if we want to parse it, but let people get a feel for what's being seen. Especially without the music, it doesn't have the same impact.
Sure.
And because there's no music, we can talk over it anyway.
Well, there weren't any native plants in that first shot. I don't know what's attractive about this. I see lots of bull thistle there. This is sad. I would just reframe this as a horror movie. I mean, look at those. What I think is interesting is this. It's almost as if they're trying to make it seem like this doesn't happen all the time. It's like, oh, goodbye cows, because these people who have exploited the land their whole lives have been forced out by the hippies.
And this is the cows being trucked out of the park, or the trailer brought in to get the cows to load into it, to take them away. And the sad end of an era at Point Reyes Seashore, folks. The cows have to go.
Yeah, as if that doesn't happen anyway, as a part of the core of their industry. Why do you think that cattle chute exists? Why do you think it's an old, worn down cattle chute? I mean, this
And
isn't
here we
the
go,
first time.
loving stewards of the cows. We love our
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're trying to make it sound like the cows don't want to leave. I'm sure that the other ones that you sent to the slaughterhouses on a weekly basis didn't want to leave either.
Funny how the people who work the cows begin to look like them.
That's why
Is that inappropriate?
I said a bunch of JD Vance clones. There's a pretty good. Oh boy.
Corinne says no stopping. Let it play. Okay, Corinne, we got you. Let it play out so it builds cumulatively. And again,
Boy, look at that. Look at that healthy habitat the cows are walking on. JD, what's up, JD?
And by the way, the whole thing has got kind of a black and white, vignetted filter on it to make it seem 50s nostalgic. That was the photographer, filmmaker's choice here.
Oh, that's so artistic. How did he come up with that? Where did he go to a kindergarten filmmaking course?
It's so, I mean, again, it's fascinating too, the people, see, this kid grows up, he doesn't know any better, innocent little guy, and he grows up saying, this is what we do with animals. So that becomes normalized. And
yeah,
I keep thinking, rounding up the Jews, is that inappropriate as a Jewish man to say that? You can be taught to do anything that's cruel and violent if you're raised with it and your parents are showing you by example that it's okay to do this. And this is how
I'll retitle this Raising the Next Generation of Psychopaths.
There you go.
Now, I don't know if you noticed, but you can't see the cattle inside of that thing. They just showed that it got loaded up. And I was pointing this out when I talked about the hell of being in one of those things, especially on a 110-degree day. And they go by you on the freeway, and how convenient that you can't see what's inside.
Yeah.
And look at this. Oh, it's the shaky camera. Was that artistic too, or could you just not get your shit together? And then there's the rest of Facebook.
Back to the world of Facebook, the joys of Facebook.
Gross. What the hell comes on after that? Don't ever make me go back to Facebook.
Yeah, there was one comment. I'm mixed feelings about reading it or not, but it basically said, I don't understand how this can happen. These poor ranching families, multi-generational ranchers have been there forever, and they're part of the history of Point Reyes Seashore. And oh, that's right, they were forced out as opposed to paid millions to leave out. They were never supposed to be there ad infinitum in the first place. And then they had a gag order, so they couldn't talk about it. Well, first of all, there's not a gag order. There's a confidentiality agreement, and both sides can't talk about it. Both sides, the people who were the environmentalist activists who wanted them out, which we did because they were polluting the land, and the ranchers have a confidentiality agreement where they can't go to the public. And yet even with that confidentiality agreement called a gag order by this person, the ranchers still eat their cake and have it too by taking the money and still complaining to the public, as they've done repeatedly. Exactly. So it's just, but again, more to my point, the person who wrote that comment with saying that point of view, I don't think they're a ranch family person lying. They actually believe it, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
They really don't. They can't take in new information, or even as we were doing, look at the land. Look at how beat to shit the land is. And yet,
the comment is, I just don't understand how this can happen.
Right.
And then the one next to that is, what such a beautiful tribute. Really, was it? I'll tell you what it was. It was an interesting chance to actually get the white people to show up for the camera instead of all the illegal workers that are usually doing that stuff for them. But how nice was it for you to come visit your ranch that you supposedly work hard at?
I mean, again, it's just, I don't want to do ad hominem attacks. Because it's not about the specific ranchers. It's about the whole mentality. And the ranchers wouldn't even exist if it weren't for the larger general public supporting the mentality of this is what we do with animals, as long as we don't actually have to see it. And if you as an animal rights activist, or just someone who has a heart, who cares about not abusing animals, shows us what you're doing, we'll be angry with you and say, stop that, stop. I don't want to see that. Don't show that to me. I mean, that even exists in the vegan community. I was speaking with Leah, the vegan animal rights activist, yesterday about this. And, even in the vegan community, people who don't want to abuse animals and don't want to eat animal products as a result, let alone wear them, you're not supposed to show the footage can be very off-putting and upset people, which it certainly can. But it's the truth of what the industry is. So even vegans who agree, I'm not going to do this, say don't show that because it won't get people to be convinced. And Ray Cooper, good guy and completely valid point of view, is like, yeah, it pushes people away, because when he and I saw that footage of cows being abused 30 years ago when we were in our 30s, it didn't convince us. It didn't change us. It just pushed, oh, that's horrible. That's upsetting. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know.
So NC says, Sunday on Estero Trail, we saw elk herds and no cattle by the ponds. And again, perspective. I think that sounds pretty great. Yeah. Now, these same people that are mourning the ranchers leaving, are they upset? Or are they going to pretend that, oh, that was the way it always could have been? Really? Because these same people that you're mourning are leaving and are celebrating their lifestyle complained relentlessly about wildlife and pushed to have the wildlife removed by lethal means or any other means. Don't act like they were land-loving friends of the environment. Did you see their ranches? Did you see what they do to the land? Now, I understand that we've all been raised, God, Lord knows I'm guilty, of just associating goodness, wholesomeness, Americanness with, look, it's a barn, look, it's a cow, I eat meat, therefore I am an American or whatever. But you do have to, at some point, understand that that is an affront to nature. They don't go hand in hand. They don't. And if you want to celebrate this because of your nostalgia, celebrate it on just about all the land on the way out to Point Reyes, and let there be one tiny little peninsula for nature. There's no loss. There's no shortage of ranchers in exploited, destroyed land covered in weeds and manure and barbed wire and cattle. Sadly, that's what is that? 50% of Marin County
and Sonoma
and Sonoma
County, yeah.
Except for it's for the wineries, which, by the way, are also often owned by ranchers. Therefore, the only green that you see are the grapevines, another commodity, while everything else is dying.
Meaning oak forest and redwood forest and any other vegetation that doesn't serve, that can't be, as we're always talking, can't be used to make money.
Right. There's no value. I mean, there's an interesting hump for humans to get over to understand that there is inherent value in the earth before you monetize it.
And even if you want to do it from the human-centric, the anthropocentric view, we need wild places to produce oxygen and store carbon and purify water. It is part of the Earth's habitat. If we make everything in New York City, where I grew up, we're going to be living inside domes, creating oxygen, because we've killed all the the plants in the ocean and in the forests that produce the ecosystem, like the air we breathe. Hence, Mr. Musk's idea of getting off to Mars, or perhaps for him getting off by getting to Mars, isn't such a real nifty idea, because it doesn't have stuff we need, like, an atmosphere. But don't worry, our robots will make it. Because look how well they drive our full self-driving Teslas.
I just don't think we deserve to celebrate our ability to go somewhere else when we haven't proven that we are good owners of the place we're at now. It's like a spoiled child who wrecks a car and the parents just say, well, here, try again. Here's another car. In fact, we'll give you a more expensive one. You want to run this back with comments this time?
Sure. Yeah. Let's milk it for what I wish we could. Oh, you know what? It originally played with some music, which we can't play because it's copyright stuff, correct? But
Well, we can't anyway because I had to screen record it, so the only thing we'll hear is our own voices.
yeah, I'm just thinking we could play some music. I mean, it really the thing I wanted to do, which gets tricky, is to play this with just. I mean, this is filmmaking stuff. I'm a dabbler. You're a
We'll do
filmmaker.
it after.
Well,
Go make it and post it.
right. Yeah, it's another project. I'm currently working on stuff for the humane washing machine exhibit this Saturday, which I want to mention later, up at Sonoma County Veg Fest. But anyway, the music makes all the difference. If you do it without any music, it's dead. If you play it with happy or nostalgic, sad music, it has one effect on you, and then if you play it with some other music, it can totally change the nature of the visuals you're processing or how you process what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead. It's just like a minute, right? This thing?
It's like 3. So that non-native plants, a barn to hold all the non-native hay because they already have overgrazed the land to the point that the cows can't actually be free-range grass eaters. But hey, I must be lying.
This is Nunes Ranch, Nunes Dairy at Point Reyes National Seashore. What's the letter of the ranch? Do you remember what Nunes is? I forget which one it is. It's A, B, or C, isn't
it? I think they actually lease multiple spots.
Okay. There's the black and white filter making it nostalgic or something. Ironically, it makes the land look even more beat.
I don't. Other than familiarity, the simplicity of familiarity in your youth, if you saw this or are used to seeing it, I just don't understand the attraction to this.
Well, there you go. That is the reason. It's familiarity. Like saying, hey, our family has worked the land for 4 generations. So I'm used to it. This is our way of life, and our grandfather and his grandfather did it. So what? It's like back to the old analogy we use about, hey, we've always had slaves. We've always had other human beings in chains working the land for us. It's nostalgic. It's historic. It's what we've always done. It's the way. Oh, and you don't see the horrific immorality of it anymore.
Oh, and look at the title. I can't believe I forgot to mention. As true locals know it. Not the locals that don't count.
Right. And that's just poor writing, I think. Also, it wasn't done by ChatGPT. Sadly, or it would be more accurate. The real locals, the locals who agree with us, those guys, the ones who are actually born here, not people who live here. Perhaps who knows what that means.
Well, I actually think we could talk about this for a while because polls that the Park Service has conducted, not even the polls that our side. I call our side. I sound so divisive. It's hard not to in this time. Indicate that the vast majority of people don't want this in Point Reyes National Seashore. And when those numbers come out, then these people who this benefits, let's keep in mind, this is good because it benefits them, and therefore their opinion is what matters. And they're the true locals. And anyone that doesn't like what they like can shut up, and you're an outsider. Gee, who's that remind you of? Whose narrative does that remind you of?
It's also in the era of Trump, as those folks think.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. It's like, I don't care that it's a national park. It shouldn't be that. Well, but it is a national park. Since
it shouldn't be that.
Well, I mean, that's the argument, because it doesn't matter what you true locals think. It's now a national park, so you don't get to decide what happens on that national land. It's serving the much greater community called America. So you want your cheap land deals, paying 1/10 market value to lease it back from the feds, but it doesn't matter what you want. That's not what it is. It's a national park, and it's supposed to be for wildlife, not for a filthy business, or as Ray Cooper says, such a dirty job. This is how your food is produced.
And to the person who said, I just don't understand how this could happen, there's actually a pretty clear line to follow if you want to understand how it could happen. The United States government recognizing the loss of biodiversity and public lands for the ability to enjoy natural resources. started creating national parks. This was toward the end of that. Therefore, a lot of the land already had people using it and exploiting it, hunting on it, chopping down the forests, ranching it. In order to acquire this land and turn it into a national park, even though it already had people using it, they had to come to a settlement and pay these ranchers millions of dollars, the equivalent of $350 million today. And then instead of leaving, these guys used that money to buy more land and hire lobbyists and influence those in charge to let them continue to lease with short-term leases. Now they're leasing, which goes back to the point Jack was saying. This is now a national park in which you're being allowed to continue a for-profit business, which I think is pretty weird by itself. But you don't get to say what happens. You sold, period. You got the millions of dollars. You sold. It's over. Yeah. And I to actually agree with the government, I got to say, as I pointed out earlier, my God, you see this destruction all over California. How upset can you be that a tiny piece has been set aside so that future generations can go out and see what nature actually looks like? To smell fresh air. You can't smell fresh air in Point Reyes National Seashore.
If you're anywhere near the ranches, you smell manure is what you mean, right?
You don't even have to be close. If the wind's blowing, I start choking sometimes. I took someone out there who didn't believe me. He was like, my God. It's like, it's like, holy shit, why can't I smell the ocean?
Yeah. And which way the wind blows, as you say. By the way, Corinne asked, please tell me where this video is located on Facebook. Who posted it is, if I may, I think I can say the woman's name. She's a photographer, I think. Darby, D-A-R-B-Y Johnson, J-O-H-N-S-O-N, Darby Johnson. And I actually, as a co-host, can't enter a link in the chat directly. It's on Facebook. I put it in a comment to a group. I'm not sure if that's visible. I don't think it is. But I can't participate in the chat here somehow. But I can get it to you later, Corinne. I don't know if other people want to see this thing, but it is worth viewing because you get the music and the intended author's effect of the poor family and the poor animals.
You're telling me that you can't put that in a regular comment, huh? That's interesting.
Let
me see if I can copy and paste it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so it's in with the show if people want it. But also, when this show is put onto or left on YouTube after we're done taping,
I'll add it to the description.
Right. We don't see the comments, right? The comments are not part of the show after the fact. Is that correct?
Oh, the live ones?
Yeah. Right now, Pia wrote, Ray Cooper, it's an atrocity. This is an atrocity in every way. It's a comment I'm seeing made 4 minutes ago. That doesn't show up in the recording later, correct?
I think it's a playback setting.
Oh, so you can see comments at times. There is a way to do that.
Yeah. Unless this EV Mux thing screws that up.
Okay, cool.
So I posted, and I can't see so even me, the host, the main host, apparently can't do that. That's weird. So tell me.
Go ahead.
Tell me what's nice about the image that's on the screen right now.
Thank you. It's funny. I was just thinking the same thing, Skyler. We're both thinking the same thing. It's like, oh, there's some cows behind a railing, and depending on what you bring to this, who you are and what you know, you will have very, very different reactions to this, right? Meaning, if I was a 10-year-old kid, I go, oh, look at the cows, look at the sweet cows. And I go over and want to pet the cow as a kid. And if you had asked me this, I don't know, 20 years ago, I drove by this scene on the way to the beach at Point Reyes Seashore. And I remember thinking, just kind of like half hazy thinking, oh, there's cows here. Huh, that's interesting. I wonder what the cow is. It's a Kehoe Dairy of the Year, it says, from 1987 or something. Like, interesting. I would smell the manure. Ooh, that smells good, manure. And then I drive to the beach, and I never gave it another thought.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That was me, and that is really friggin' interesting. It's a subject that endlessly fascinates me because now, since I've gotten educated by choice and with effort, doing my own thinking, it's like now I understand these animals are prisoners, and to varying degrees brutalized, every one of them, especially if they're dairy cows. They were taken from their mothers. Anyway, it's a horror show, but I know that. And the average 10-year-old today in 2020, the year of our Lord, 2025, doesn't know that and would think, oh, look at the sweet cow, and go over and try to pet the cow.
I tried to make sense of that in my narration of the shame of Point Reyes, because I remember it didn't dawn on me at first either. And I thought, does that have to do with the fact that it hasn't changed that much from my drive out here? It was just a continuation of everything else that I'm seeing in California. So, oh yeah, of course there's cows here too. There's been cows everywhere that I've driven. Why would there not be cows here too?
Yeah. Well, this is the power of something that the familiar, what we're used to. You don't question what you're used to. You're raised in an environment without crickets or without rain or with, summer days that are 105 in Fresno, or for that matter, San Rafael. It's going to be like 95 degrees today, and the end of September, technically the second day or third day of fall. Like, oh, that's just normal. It is what it is. You don't question it. Hence, the perniciousness of the climate crisis. Things are getting hotter and drier, but it's gradual, just gradual enough that you can pretend it's not happening.
If people would accept the challenge of not turning on their air conditioners, they would stop thinking it's gradual.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I've lived in California now, Bay Area only, 29 years, never had air conditioning. And some hot days I put a fan on, but I came from the Northeast where it would be hot and humid, and we don't have the humidity here. So it's never that hot here for me. You just get out of the sun and put on a fan and it's fine.
But that is not going to be the case soon.
Ray Cooper, good point, Skyler. Wild land should be celebrated. There's an unending supply of ranch land.
Yeah. This gets even more complicated. Let's say it's from the perspective of the people that celebrate the ranching and they see these cattle. And, you pointed out one innocence of it. It's like, oh, look, cattle, they're cute. So what is the sadness then? Is it that you don't get to keep slaughtering these animals? That because you see all of them behind there. They're endlessly replaced. They're endlessly replaced after truckloads of them go off to be slaughtered. Now, go ahead and call me a stupid vegan because you love the taste of beef. But just be honest. So what you're sad about is that you don't get to keep eating the creatures that you see on that screen.
Okay, can I play farmer to your nasty vegan?
Yeah.
Can we play for a minute here? So, yeah. Okay, wise guy, look, they're very sweet animals. We don't beat them. We need them to be healthy so we can produce meat and milk. It's what we've always done. You grew up. We all grew up eating this stuff. And that's what, I don't need to bring religion into it. Some people are religious, but, God put these animals on earth for us to, take care of and shepherd and steward. And yeah, we eat them. Native Americans for thousands of years ate animals too. It's no different. What is your problem, buddy?
And I'll just run another direction that you inspired there.
Please.
Not a single person who thought that has stopped eating beef or milk or a dairy product. Like Nunes trucking these cattle off hasn't changed anyone's diet whatsoever. In fact, I would be shocked at if there was more than 1% of people who watched the video who have even bought directly from the Nunes ranch. This isn't going to affect whether or not you can continue to eat the flesh of cattle at all.
But what you're doing is you're putting us small, local Point Reyes ranchers out of business, where the meat is produced, the cow meat and milk. Yeah, we get meat and milk from cows. It's produced locally. We don't have to truck it a long distance. It's gentler on the cows. It's organic certified.
Gentler on the cows.
Well, it is. They don't have to be trucked long distances from Bakersfield and stuff.
You don't know, but you don't know where they're being sent to. That's the bottom line.
Well,
you don't know.
I'm not mentioning that we truck them anyway to slaughter. They all get slaughtered in the same giant mechanized slaughterhouses. But I'm going to leave that part out because I'm playing the role of rancher now. And hey, we're raising local food. Don't you think local's food? You're an environmentalist, you bearded vegan hippie dude, right? Isn't it better that we produce, if we're going to do this, that we do it locally? Of course, I can't play the role of rancher because I know too much. I'm educated. I'm not a schmuck rancher. Or excuse me.
Well,
schmuck, that's not fair. Ignorant.
Well, keep playing, because this is good.
Okay.
So I'd say, why are you only upset about these ranches and not the ranches that voluntarily have been selling outside of Point Reyes National Seashore? Ranches every single year are voluntarily shutting down. Has nothing to do with environmentalists. Has nothing to do with people pushing them out. They are selling out. They're taking their millions of dollars and they're like, we're moving on. Why aren't, whatever the reasons are, is a side topic. Why aren't the people that are so sad about the Nunes ranch shutting down in Point Reyes National Seashore? Where was your crying when the other ranches shut down?
So, okay, I'm a rancher, Mr. Environmentalist, and I'll address that question. I'm glad you brought it up. I can do this really well. I have been crying about it. And Albert Strauss, our hero, our god of organic dairy production, has been talking about this. This is the consolidation due to market pressure and the cost of doing business that has forced us small good farmers, the local ones, produce food locally, out of business. We got to sell. We can't make money anymore. And all these cows that you seem to care about so much get shipped down to Bakersfield on these giant Harris Ranch feedlots with 10,000 cows or 20,000 cows, whatever it is. And they have a more miserable life. The product is still made because people still want to consume it, you crazy vegan. And yeah, it's a sad shame that financially, that's why we get help from the government. I'm not ashamed of the subsidies we get. We work hard, but we're subsidized for the government so that we can keep making this meat and milk for local producers. I agree with your lamentation that, yeah, we should be complaining and saying, hey, don't do this to other businesses. We should have lots of small farms everywhere on the land. Just don't mention pollution. Oops, I broke roll. Sorry.
And Strauss, you specifically mentioned Strauss. He sources from Point Reyes.
Only 15% from Nunes and Mendoza. 85% is not from Point Reyes. So when he goes around crying, "Oh, poor me" in the business, it's 15% of his market. Yeah, he cares, but it's not enough to put him out of business anyway.
So these small, sustainable farms where they're multi-generational and therefore they know how to do it right.
Yep.
Still can't run a sustainable business when they have basically, even outside of Point Reyes National Seashore, are ranching thousands of acres practically for free.
That's still, we have to compete with these giant consolidated ranches, which do it to they don't do a good job, and it's not as clean, and they're not organic. We do organic, cleaner, kinder, gentler on the animals until we cut their fucking throats. And you're putting us out of business because these consolidations put us small ranchers out of business. Yeah.
How far back in time does he get to use that excuse? Because these guys have been selling out since the 50s.
Yeah, good question. I'm torn between like wanting to play the role of rancher and wanting to rip into my own arguments because I know all the counter arguments to it, and one of them is just pollution, buddy. Look what you're doing to the land. But the ranchers don't see it. You could put a polygraph on them, and they'd say no, we care for the land, right? And they would just say that and believe it. They have to believe it. They've convinced themselves, right?
I have a hard time not thinking about a comment that has haunted me ever since I first saw it, when someone said, these people took otherwise worthless land and made use of it. I'm like,
wow.
And they weren't even talking about Point Reyes at that point. I was just filming as I drive down the highway that what California used to be is now nothing but annual European grasses. The golden state of fire fuel that's ready to go up. And that's fine. That's fine because this land was worthless until Europeans came and made use of it. It's just astonishing, the mindset.
Yeah. And it said, they believe it. It said with conviction, they believe it. Like, what's the land for if we don't put it to some good use? I mean, that's a societal view, man, right? It's not just ranchers.
But there's actually a counter to that too, because what are you really saying when you say that it hasn't been put to use? You haven't figured out how to monetize it. You haven't figured out how to commoditize it. Well, guess what? The money that Point Reyes National Seashore generates through tourism, because there is value in nature. People do value natural resources and wildlife. is evident by the fact that it eclipses anything that the ranchers ever produced. So there's your value. And as beautiful places continue to disappear on this planet, anyone, this is a little advice to anyone out there. If you happen to own some land, preserve it, make it lush, make it wild, and it's going to be so rare and mind-blowing for people to see. You're going to be able to charge a big ticket price to come and look at what once was.
I mean, that's been around for 30 years or so. I couldn't agree more. Which is, well, the fancy word for it is ecotourism, where you leave land alone and bring people in. That's what national parks are, places where people go just to be in nature, and you can put economic value on it. It needs to be supported by a government that understands the value of it, not one that's corrupted by economic or corporate forces to put it to use it, to exploit the land. Yeah, they lost that fight, right?
So, Corinne, you listened to the video with the music. How did hearing the music affect you?
Yeah, she'll write a comment to that. It's a big. Well, I mean, my God, anybody knows that, and you as a filmmaker know it more than ever. You when you were making The Shame of Point Reyes, Skyler, which you made years ago, you were choosing music to put over a lot of your narration, right? I mean, that's a process, is it not?
Yeah. I also didn't have that big of a choice. It was music from a friend. I couldn't afford to get anything that was copyright free.
If someone said, "Here's here's 50 grand, here's money just to buy music for your film," would that have really made your? I mean, I thought your music was I wasn't hyper aware, but it was there and it was good. So would it have made a difference, that 50 grand to spend on music?
No, that's not what I would have spent it on.
What would you have spent it on? Cameras and stuff?
Sure. Maybe an editor, because I'm sick of editing.
Right.
I like, version 3, 4, 5, and 6 that I worked on. I don't know. There's something, there's a recurring theme in this video. I mean, there's several recurring themes, but there's one that I want to talk about, and I want to see if you can guess what it is before it comes on the screen.
You're just asking me right now, what else is the theme in this?
What do you think I'm going to point out before I point it out?
I can't. If you give me a multiple choice, I could pick it, but I don't know what's in your head, man. I mean, which is what's so much fun.
All right. Well, I'll just pause when we get to it.
Okay.
God damn, this is horrifying. And if anyone who hasn't been to Point Reyes, just about every time I went out there, I would pass these trucks. This is not what it looks like when ranchers are getting kicked out. This is what normal ranching looks like.
Oh, and by the way, let me throw in a comment here. This giant truck that's bringing cows out is, as Skyler knows this more heatedly and angrily than I do, but I'm aware of it now as you're showing this picture. These trucks are not going to be gone from Point Reyes seashore. No, we're going to bringing, this truck is going to reverse the direction of this film. It's going to be bringing cows in by the frickin' Nature Conservancy to graze the land, because they don't want natural herbivores to graze the land. They want cows to do it. So cows will still be brought in to manage the land. Now, there will be thousands fewer. So that's where I choose to be optimistic and say that instead of 6,500 cows in the park, there'll be 1,000 or 1,500, which is good, but it's just completely insane and counterproductive to have trucks bringing in cows again, which, by the way, just to point out here, noise pollution of these giant trucks, air pollution from the diesel exhaust from these giant trucks, chewing up the roads from these trucks, eroding the roads, which then they have to come in and repave. They get destroyed by all these machines coming in and out. Food, hay, water. There won't be milk trucks going out. Presumably they're not going to be running dairy cows out there. It'll be beef cows. But it's a huge negative impact on the land, and that's going to continue under the Nature Conservancy, conserving nature by bringing in cows and blighting it more.
When the repairs have to take place on the roads from these 18-wheelers, who do you think is going to pay for that? Who do you think has been paying for that?
Well, traditionally taxpayers. With the Nature Conservancy bringing in, I assume it still falls to taxpayers, right?
Yes, and yet the people doing the damage are literally being paid by funds partially raised by taxpayers to pay these people to keep bringing the damage back in. It's not just the ecological damage that the cattle are going to do, but now Some rancher, because if someone owns cattle that are going to be rented to come in and do this targeted grazing, that means that a rancher is still getting paid to damage Point Reyes National Seashore.
Oh, by the way, I'll say this publicly for the few activists that are listening to this as well. What I'm looking forward to doing, because they're not going to be, I mean, I'm going to be cynical here. Let's see if I can almost join you in cynicism in this, Skyler. The Nature Conservancy is not going to be transparent. They're going to want to keep all opaque and not reveal anything. We're going to have to press them for information. And we'll be able to get some because we've got a group of us working on this, folks. And please join us, activists. Where are the cows coming from? Whose cows are they? How much are those people being paid? All that stuff is going to be great investigative work for us activists. Join us in this ongoing fight to free Point Reyes Seashore from goddamn cows. And those facts told to the public can be used to have impact, to let people know this is still corrupt and wrong and abusive of the land and of the animal. The work continues. And by the way, Corinne says, in listening to the music, yes, the music makes it so weird because of the obvious abuse. They're trying to engage your emotions, but it still has the feel of a horror movie. And that's, of course, for you, Corinne, who's also a vegan, and you know what those cows are going through. The average person who doesn't, who is sympathetic to the farmer's point of view, it's like, oh, the sweet cows, why are they forcing us to take them out? Forcing us, paying us millions to take them out.
It's an astonishing difference in perspective. People using sadness in the horror film sense that the abuse of these animals isn't going to continue in Point Reyes. While the rest of it, then you have our side. It's like, Jesus, this looks like a video about animal abuse.
You know, it's interesting. I was going to say, but though the ranchers don't show the animal abuse, but it's not quite true. They're so inured to it that there actually were those guys kind of rounding up the animal and pushing. Obviously, it's upset and disturbed and scared and they're trying to get it on the truck. They just like, oh, the cow's a little scared. We'll get them on the truck. They've deadened themselves the way we grew up, deadened to, pulling fish out of a pond or something. That's what you do. Not like, let me look at it from the animal's point of view. Boy, this is really disturbing and upsetting. And should I be doing this at all? Do I even need to be doing it? Different perspective.
Yeah. When I go running on the beach in the morning, I always get to look at fish on the sand because the wonderful act of fishing is celebrated and allowed right there. And this is what fishermen do. Like pull it in, let it die in that manner. But again, this is something that's in a Norman Rockwell painting. It's not a bad thing. It's fishing.
Ooh, they don't even throw. I mean, I was taught you throw it in a bucket where it slowly asphyxiates in water with not enough oxygen in the water. You're saying they just drop them on the sand and let it die that way?
I'm not sure how they choose which ones die which way. Maybe the ones that they consider worthless, they leave to suffocate on the sand, and the other ones die slowly in the pail. And they leave the debris behind for seagulls and stuff to pick at as other people are trying to enjoy the beach. They leave carcasses behind, and it's all apparently legal. This also is a national park, by the way.
There's no end to how brutal we human beings can become if we're brutalized. I mean, as young people, and whether it's just getting used to watching a fish suffer and thinking that's normal, as I was taught, or shooting an animal, or skinning an animal, or cutting a cow's throat, when it's 2 or 3 years old because it's come to market, it's time to harvest the meat. It kind of always fascinates me. Just as you said, looking at the cow picture, different interpretations, but how we can be really brutalized, where we shut down our feelings to other animals.
Let me make this bigger, because on Friday when I was talking with Jack Morgan, we got into when does suffering begin, because he and Leah were like, don't talk about suffering because then people interpret suffering. And I don't think the suffering starts when people start stabbing at the cow or scaring it onto a truck or the slaughterhouse or any of that. I think it's already here. I think anytime you have a bunch of animals confined and you can see by their behavior, by a head sticking through the bars, that there's a pretty good chance they wouldn't be there if they weren't being forced to be. This is already sad.
Leah and Sky Jack Morgan, I'm sure, would agree with that statement, Sky, or perhaps in the context of their conversation, they were just saying, it's the suffering is so much greater, and even someone who's used to it can see it for suffering. Here, you'd have to be in this scene with these animals and look at them carefully and, really pay attention and slow down to kind of sense the animal. And not a lot of people are going to do that or want to do it or even can do it. You have to be an animal person to say, I'm going to really try to feel into what that animal's feeling. And then there's no science for what are you talking about? They're not like us. You're projecting, blah, 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 counter argument to it. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody's going to do that.
But I'll tell you what, if you do what Corinne just mentioned, looking into the eyes of the cattle, it will tell you a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
so
go ahead.
The trucks, that's nothing new. In fact, they've been damaging the roads, the hay trucks that come in, the combines that come in, the manure spreading trucks, these 18-wheelers.
Water trucks?
Yeah, you can't compare the damage that these massive vehicles do to the roads to what tourists are doing to the roads. And yet the tourists are the ones who pay while these people profit. It's a pretty weird situation. And I don't blame them for leaving. We've joked about this. It's like, yeah, that's a pretty insanely good deal.
You mean you don't blame them for wanting to stay because they get such cheap land rates, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay, not leaving. Yeah. I mean, they're being paid to leave, but they want to stay because wherever they're going to put these cows now, I mean, whether they're going to sell them or graze them somewhere else until they're ready to market, at a young age, they all die at a young age anyway. The other hidden atrocity of this business.
So this is the point I was getting at. It's like, oh, look, it's a family. Look what you're doing to a family. As if ranchers are a special group of people that can reproduce. As if crapping out more humans is a gift and something special. Like if anyone's special, it's the people that actually have the willpower to refrain from doing it.
This is our culture's romance of the farming family, the ranching family, the cowboy, home on the range, right?
Visiting for the first time in years for the photo op.
Because to spell that out, you've been alluding to that, but to spell it out, because I'm speaking to a broader audience here as well, I hope. These guys you're seeing right here are not doing the majority of the physical work on that ranch. It's unpaid, underpaid, excuse me, not unpaid, overpaid. Excuse me.
Jesus
Christ. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little out of it this morning. These are immigrant workers, undocumented for the most part, that are brought in to do the hard labor of running the ranch daily. Not these clowns who come in, who are the owners or the sons of the owners.
I'm curious what people think when they see this. Like, they included this in the tribute video. Like, I would have left this part out probably, unless you're trying to say that this only happens because the ranchers are being kicked out. You're saying that, the only time they harass and have to corner a cow to get it to go up the chute is this one time in history? I mean, this is just the normal practice as animals get sent to their deaths.
One cattleman's corralling is another vegan's harassment.
I mean, why not go further and just like show the videos of them shoving their fists up their vaginas? I mean, maybe we should be sad that that's coming to an end too.
Are you referring to the practice of artificial insemination, Skyler? Or are you just talking about having fun in your spare time?
Joking aside, I think that there's multiple occasions in which they shove their fists up these animals' orifices, whether it's the anus or the vagina. Yeah, and they have rape racks. Let's everyone be sad that you're not going to get to see rape racks as you're driving through Point Reyes National Seashore.
And folks,
they call them rape racks. By the way, I didn't come up with that.
That's the industry term, is a rape rack, which is kind of like a snarky revelation of truth. It's interesting they don't know to actually change that word to a calf rearing brace or something, rather than calling it a rape rack, where we rape the animal so that it has babies that we can.
I like what this guy over on the left is doing. He looks like he's at a baseball game or something.
Yeah, Corinne saying, "Can I fat shame?" It's like, well, we're doing it. I'm not always proud of that, but at the same time, it ties in with who these people are and the business they're in.
Well, we keep lowering our standards because these people aren't nearly as fat as what I'm accustomed to seeing. Oh, there we go. There we go. His lovely wife on the left. You could get a little.
Skyler. I'm not sure where you're going, but I don't think you want to go where I think you want to go. It's one thing to pick on as a middle-aged white guy, to pick on another middle-aged white guy, but it's not cool to go beyond that in this culture. Right? We don't need to go there, do we?
Look at the brand new ramp that they had to build for this one-time event of sending the cattle up the chute. Doesn't that look brand new?
Yeah, it's interesting too. They desaturated the lower half of the picture, but left the blue sky for whatever reason. Artistic choice. Anyway, folks, so this is available. So comments have said that, the chat is available in this. If you're listening to this after the fact, then you can listen to some of these comments and get the link, more importantly, to see this video with music, which is probably worth doing. So we're an hour and 18 in. Do we want to wrap this up?
We can wrap. You keep talking while I click through it. We can wrap it up. More of those rare cases of humans reproducing. In case anyone didn't understand that there were human beings who had reproduced, making money off of this abuse.
And just to have it in the record here, multi-generational ranching families that had been there since the 1850s, I guess, when European ranchers began their practices in the land. But before that, 10,000 years of humans, native humans to the land, not doing this to animals and not cutting down and destroying all the trees and making these beat up, dried out dirt pastures. That's the history of the land, much more so than European history. But of course, the Europeans, my people, the conquerors, get the right to history. That's our privilege.
Well, it doesn't take much, does it, to fill up the show?
And overbake it. Yeah. Well, thank you for pulling that together and doing the work there, getting that thing on. Appreciate that. It is worth seeing, I think, for people to understand. Yeah. And
I will go and add it to the description of the video for everyone to go and look at the original. Actually, I don't want them to get more views. I'll just steal it and make fun of it and put it on my channel.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, whether you send people to see the original or I mean, I typically will do that. Like I want to slice and dice, otherwise you just repeat the lie. It's tricky how to show something that's a lie without just putting out lie into the blogosphere more. So this is Skyler Thomas of Shame of Point Reyes. You can watch this as always and all his other fine work on the Watching Humans podcast, and you can also donate if you like this kind of work, for which activists like Skyler and filmmakers like Skyler do not get paid a lot of money. They do it because it's a labor of love, but you can pop him $100 or $200 and support his work. I'm Jack Gescheidt of the Tree Spirit Project, and invited on to be the Skyjack co-host with Skyler, for which I'm appreciative. And I've got my Tree Spirit Project, and the same goes for me. I will be, with my Tree Spirit Project, showing the Humane Washing Machine, an art exhibit up at the Sonoma County Veg Fest this coming Saturday, September 27th, starting at 11 a.m. I think it goes to 4 or 5 p.m. In Santa Rosa. If you go to treespiritproject.com, I have an events page, or treespiritproject.com/events. And there's more information about that. It's a great way to kind of get introduced to the world of veganism and great talks and food and community. And it's certainly welcome for what we call the veg curious. Like, these guys are going on about stuff that interests me. I'm not there yet, but I want to know more. And it's fun and it's cheap and free for kids this Saturday, October 27th, Veg Fest. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Jack. See everyone next